I'm waiting for the moment, but there's never a moment. Always now. So I went to satsang and everything and did all this stuff, and for the first few years of spiritual practice, it was never really an investigation of the practice. It was always a deep critiquing of the practitioner. Yeah. So the systems themselves had a foolproof protection warranty because of the self-centeredness. You'll usually blame yourself for not doing enough, or not sitting long enough, or not concentrating more, or not, going to India. I missed that one statue. I should have walked around 108 times. Something was going to trigger it, and I blew it. Yeah. Or on the other side, you feel like you've achieved something, and the same dilemma arises, because if you feel like you've achieved something, you also believe you can lose something. So once again, that inherent possibility, and it's not like 24/7 fireworks. It's just like an awakeness to being awake. Yeah, not like you did anything to be awake. It's just the natural state. Yeah, there's an onness that's natural that precedes all sense of volition or all sense of being negated by what you did or being affirmed by what you did. So it's not touched by all our little antics after. It's just there, always is. But when you have a hit of that or a free sample of it, there should be, as soon as that happens, there should be like a class that you go to, so that someone can describe that there's going to be a heist that's going to occur, and that heist is of a mental variety, and the mental state, that idea of you is going to write itself into its own absence. So you had a sense of the absence of self, which means mostly there was an absence of time and all that goes with self. Yeah, you had a sense of that, and you would believe, you have a belief maybe or an assumption that hit should be enough to totally equalize. It's sort of almost like a cockroach fucking spray. All right, I sprayed once, they should all be dead. But then I lived in a place in Florida once. I just moved there from New York, and I had never seen a palmetto bug before. Have you ever heard of them? Yeah. They're huge cockroaches. They're like an aircraft carrier of cockroaches, and they fly, but not that well. They're very erratic, and they fly for maybe 15 feet, and then they fall out of the ground, out of the air. Well, I moved in a room, and there was these two freaking palmetto bugs. I could hear them at night because they're pretty big, and they're going through my shit. So I had this perimeter of lit candles on my little futon, but I could hear them. So I had back then there was famous shoes, earth shoes. A lot of people had these. They're like fucking earth. They were about 5 pounds each. And I had these earth shoes, so I planned I'm going to stay up, and I'm going to catch these palmetto bugs, and I'm going to kill them. Yeah, it's the only way I could stay in this room. So I saw one on the dresser, and then it jumped on the ground, so I hit it, and I squished it. And I had a brown paper bag, and I lifted the earth shoe, and I thought, oh, it's over. And then it just went, got up, and it moved. And then I moved out that week. I just fucking gave up because there's no way. Well, this belief that, once I have a hit of this, it's going to be over. Yeah, everything, I'll have an immunity to everything and this and that. But even that statement is the mental state's representation. Yeah, it's already claimed to be you, and it's proclaiming that this is going to make that you immune to all the other ego and selfing that it seems to see. The selfing objectifies itself, but it calls it ego. So you're thinking, all right, I'm going to get rid of the ego, and that's all my problems. But the problem still resides because it's the sense of being the owner of the event of losing an ego. That's the sense, really. That's the bondage point. So this thing arises and claims. You see it with epiphanies. You have those events where maybe, who knows, some people do, that there's a very, very lucid interruption of how it's going, yeah? Just unbelievable. And sometimes they can last for hours, sometimes maybe 5 minutes, who knows? But usually what harkens or heralds the end of the epiphany is thoughts that come up and says, I'm having an epiphany. As soon as the movement of claiming it neutres it. Yeah. And so you would like to have the ability to claim without neutering, but that's not how it goes. As soon as the mental state arises and says, I'm the one who had that event, the event loses its oomph. Yeah. And it's actually used to reflect a bigger self. Now you're a spiritual fucking giant. Now you're above the fray. You're just fucking disconnected. You know, your idea of detachment is just shutting down completely in a lot of ways. It's all misconstrued in a lot of cases. Maybe in some it's true. So when I heard the satsangs, as non-duality seemed quite interesting. It was a novel idea, and it was a total different direction. It wasn't like a redefining of an old direction. It was like a no direction, really. And that was very curious to the head. But then I saw quickly that there was a heist going on. That no matter how many times the aperture opened up here, and just its opening up implies maybe there's something that's always open, This is the events here. The events here mimic a possibility that's always available, but it's not available here, yeah? But they mimic it. You go, wow, you get an idea of an affinity in time, with these. So the aperture opens, and you think, oh, clarity and all this, but that there's a sense that rises right after the clarity that implies it's before the clarity. And it says, I'm the one who's clear. And it's going to do it no matter how far you go back, I believe. As long as you seem to still be a body, it's going to make that move. Yeah. So there's the aperture, big opening, and then there's something that rises in front of the opening and says, I'm fucking incredibly clear, implying it's behind the opening. This is what it does. It's a one-trick pony. The mental processes happen in time. They happen after the initial onness, and way after, the conscious contact of the initial onness. The initial onness, and then there's the contact here, and then there's the mental process that implies everything has something to do with you. But suddenly that mental process says you're the one who's conscious. It's like, and then it's so quick. We had it in Germany. It was a beautiful example. It was like a fucking extreme, what do they do with the pedaling? When you get on those stationary bikes and you just pedal for 2 hours. It's like an incredible workout. It was a satsang like that. It was like 2.5 hours. It was really like breaking through heavy ice. But there was everyone's questions or statements was implying exactly what I was trying to get across, but it wasn't being noticed seemingly. So this one says, oh, this lady had a question about awareness. Give me a concrete example of something, And then this guy goes, well, what I do is I just relax and then I observe whatever is arising. But he didn't catch that idea that it was him being relaxed, observing. See, this is the heist. From that point, the heist is in place. You can see every fucking thing else. I swear, you can have a clarity that sees everything, but you don't see that. It's so quick. As soon as it arises, and the timelessness of what you are is forgotten in time. It's the only place it can be seemingly forgotten is in time. So the mental process, it's like a magic trick. It forgets what can't be forgotten, which is what we are completely. It means it appears to it that it's forgotten successfully, and then it's you. And then when you read something that goes, you're gonna forget the awareness, you believe that all right, I got it. I see that, but you'll be seeing it. from the heist itself, yeah? And it goes so quick that most practices start after that. So the infection goes through whatever else you do. It's sort of like a shadow that's been made up that now becomes every time you look or see or feel or taste or think or that, there's a feeling, there's a sense that you're the looker, the seer, the feeler, the taster, the toucher. It's just part of the whole event here. It's dreaming. It's the basis of dreaming. So, to me, I would say satsang is more of a warning. You're just warning about this heist, because if you don't see the heist, you're looking from it. And when you're looking from it, you're never going to see it. You can know it, you can study it, you can think you have it, but you won't. See, when you catch the thief in the silverware, you follow it, it's you see. There's no other, nothing could fool reality but reality. How else? Do you think, oh, this is such a sophisticated illusion, it would fool reality? Of course not. Reality would see that it's not it, yeah? But so reality has to be in cahoots with it at some level, yeah? And that to me is the dreaming, yeah? That which we are dreaming about what we're not, basically, all day. And for that to continue and to have a reality to it, there's got to be an identification as a dreamt. So there's an identification as a dreamt that, with all evidence contrary to it, will still reinforce its identification because how quick it is. That, in other words, as soon as the only sense you have is of time, there's no process in time that's going to outdraw that process. Yeah? You can practice meditation for 12 years and you'll see there's still a sense of a meditator. Yeah? There's still a feeling that there's someone doing it. Yeah? It's not generated by the meditation. The meditation is used like any other activity to imply it. Yeah? So it's not the meditation, it's not the thoughts, it's not the feelings that bind us, it's the claiming of the feelings and the thoughts and the actions that are used to bind us. Yeah? So the actions are never seen as actions, they infer that there's an actor. That's how they're seen from self-centeredness. They're not seen, they're looked at. They're looked at from the point of self, so the action implies there's got to be someone who did it. And you see, if you can't pin it on a person or a fucking natural event, you'll say God did it. It's God's doing it. No, the mental logic cannot entertain that there's no one here. It cannot entertain that everything is verbing. It can't. It's like a dog, you know. When it hears something it doesn't understand, it's just in that continual thing. So it wants to absorb the message and bring it into its logic. So the old simple thing is, hey, you're a lion. All right, that's simple. If you're a lion, if all lions taking themselves to be a sheep come to this meeting, the meeting would be like 30 seconds. And then the rest would be just, let's go to coffee or whatever, you know, let's do some stretching, whatever, roar a little bit. But the point is, the lion isn't getting the message. The process of the sheepness is claiming to be the hearer of the message. That's why sometimes you got to go to 500 meetings or one meeting every week to remember, because the habit is to remember as a sheep that you heard the message about being a lion. But it doesn't go, hey, the message of you're a lion from a lion to a lion wouldn't take much. Wouldn't write a lot of books about it. There wouldn't be tours or retreats or meditation. There'd just be, maybe there'd be tours and retreats and meditations, like fucking, you know, celebrating lioness, but it wouldn't be like all these lions masquerading as sheep trying to know that they're a lion. Yeah? They would just see that they're not a sheep. The message would happen in bammo. Why is it not that clear? There's got to be, the lion must be obscuring its own lionness. What else could? Do you think a sheep could fool the lion? The lion will thwack, slap it like that. But a lion can fool a lion. Yeah? So what we are can go, all right, I This is me. I'm having private thoughts. I've done a lot of shit I don't want to share with people. And the lion is constantly. See, we don't see this. We don't see it going into the wardrobe, pick out the sheep outfit, and stick it in the sheep, and then it bitches about being a sheep. Oh, I hate being a sheep. I fucking sucks being a sheep. But it wants to be an unsheep, but as a sheep. It can't get over that one speed bump, yeah? But the whole point is, okay, if you're the obscuring agent, that takes away all the stories of being a victim, that you've been thrust in a dream of something else and it's just swatting you like a mouse and a cat. No, you're the dreaming. You and I. Not you and I as this, but as what we are. We're dreaming this. And we're dreaming it right now. What will happen? If you see that, are you going to change the dream? Probably not. There'll be acceptance, basically. To me, that's been the byproduct. I thought it'd be like, oh, everything's going to be great. That was a rude awakening. That didn't happen. Oh, everyone will notice that I am very, no, didn't happen. People get more resentful than ever at me. for my, now because they expect so much more. Then they really get pissed when I don't seem to deliver. It's just that you never get gypped again. Sleep, wakeness, you're there completely, constantly. Always incessantly on, and you never get gypped. And a lot of stuff that used to be so curious to entertain, like what ifs and oh, if I should have or I could have, all that goes. Yeah, you have a simple rule about the past. If it was supposed to happen, it did. If it wasn't, it didn't. Yeah, cut out all the stories, and then the stories about the future. It's like you're sitting around, worried about Stanley while you're Paul. It makes no fucking sense. The personality you're going to have like a month from now won't even be close in a way to how you're sensing Paul now. So most of all your concerns are about a total fucking stranger. Even, as this, really, as the action figure. You think you're a solid action figure? No. To everyone else, you're just Sogamo. To you, Sogamo in capital letters. But to everyone else, it's a minor figure, mostly in their day, that isn't Sogamo. Same thing, every one of us. We think, we fill an amphitheater, but no, it's a theater of one, basically. And just like I don't worry about Stanley, if I'm not Stanley, you'll start losing interest in all the worrying about Paul if you're not Paul. Will the worrying keep occurring? On some level it will, because the body, it's like the brain's organization of this whole event is rooted on the idea that you're a unit, a single unit. Maybe it was good to survive as that or whatever, who knows, it came up with something, but its organizing principle to make sense of what's totally nonsensical, this abstract event, it put this idea of us, me, so everything's happening to me and all like that. It's old, it's an old fucking idea. And maybe it worked if in the dreaming of survival, but you're living now. And the living is now, obviously. So to constantly having to be pulled the attention and interest into what's not happening because of the identification, because this is time-based, yeah? There's no time without self, and there's no self without time. Time, it's just the main ingredient of the dreaming. It's unbelievable. Everyone, how they're driving today is based on time. Everything, every freaking thing. It's like it's like a unwatered current. It's pushing all of us seemingly into a bigger, better, or more fearful, terrible moment. It's insane. So it's sort of like being on one of those moving sidewalks at the airport, and there's a nice exposition, but you can't get off. You're like, oh, that's pretty interesting. I'd be interested. No. I'd stop to look at, no, because you can't get off. You know? Oh, I like that old airport. No. But we never get off of it. It just goes on and on and on and on. And then spirituality is very similar, really. Oh, I like that idea. Oh, I know Buddhism. I know. I read a book. I know non-duality. Let's move on from non-duality. It's old. You know, what's new in non-duality next year? You know, fuck it. Let's throw some spice in there. No, that's the beauty of it. It's fucking nothing. You know. But if it's seen as a fact, yeah, then it's everything. Because it is the great elixir that you can't find here. Yeah. It will allow that which finds life really somewhat unbearable to be able to live here. Yeah? It will bring a field of acceptance, not that driving of time as the dominant influence. There'll be an acceptance. Yeah? And you'll have the ability, your interest and attention, instead of wedded to that preoccupation of constantly everything reflecting this imaginary you. Yeah? Your interest and attention will be open to hearing birds and puppies. You know, you'll be alive. You'll be on. You'll be awake to being awake. Yeah. And I've noticed most people, they would rather become what they are than be what they are. They rather be constantly in the process of becoming what they already are. That's why non-duality isn't that exciting, because it isn't. Yeah. You can't write blogs about it, really. You see this shit on Facebook? It's giving you a fucking break. How are you going to have a comment, you know, like a talk on Facebook, typing? No. So this just became the directive, and it hasn't changed now. How many years? I don't see any point in moving from this point without it being clear. Yeah, I just don't, because one of the first quote-unquote awakenings is a rude awakening. It's revealed, like with me, the downloads, some of them would reveal like a huge amount of information from like 6 to whatever age in a nanosecond. And it would be all explained by a simple title, which is Self Can't Get Out of Self, or You Can't Use the Buddha to Seek the Buddha. It would explain the whole theme of tons of fucking different behavioral patterns. Yeah, just all, and it didn't take any time. It wasn't a huge dissertation. It was just like whack, and then you're convinced. You go, what? And when you're convinced that this apparatus has no ability to find out what it is. It can't embrace it, it can't experience it, it can't understand it, it can't know it. It can embrace other things, it can understand other things, it can know other things. It can't apply that modality to what you are. You can only be what you are. So what happens if that habit of modality is constantly being, let's say, successful here? I found a good coffee, yeah. I got a pair of pants, I got a date, yeah. But if you apply that in the pursuit of what you are from what you're not, it doesn't go anywhere. It's the biggest deterrent, yeah. So, but you can know what you're not. You can know it. You can have a working understanding of what you're not. You can understand what you're not. You can see its basic theme, which is the claim, and to see how the heist goes on. You can get the MO of the serial robbery. Yeah, that never actually happened. That's the funny thing about it. Yeah, you can understand that. You experience what you're not all day. You're constantly experiencing. Experience are totally based on what you're not. That's the only way what you are can have an experience, through what you're not. It can't have an experience. It has to go through an intermediary to have an experience. Itself, appearing to be something else, can have an experience. Yeah. So that habit of trying to know everything and understand anything and more means better, and more study, and more work. And you can't do and have yourself into a state of being. You can do and have yourself into another mental state that could be masquerading to you as a state of being, but you cannot do and have yourself into a state of being. It's a great famous Zen saying in Faith Mind: you can't use activity to produce stillness. That would be activity. That's the little conundrum. Yeah? So self can't get out of self. Then how the hell am I going to get relieved from the bondage of self? I've got to get out of self, but that sense of I is the selfing. That's why the selfing can't get out of self. It's actually the biggest form of being in self is wanting to get out of it. Because then reality gives meaning to an imaginary situation. I so much want to fucking get out of, quote unquote, this imaginary situation. Good luck. How can you escape an imaginary situation? There's a logic you'll fall upon that's seamless and sound and inclusive. Your mind can adapt to it pretty quickly. It can see that the saddle it's on, called self-centeredness, is riding a fucking dead horse. Yeah? So a possibility opens up, and then you start seeing anew. It doesn't say you get new eyes, you just see anew. Yeah? For the people those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. Exactly. We all have eyes to see and ears to hear until they're claimed as being used to imply the hearer and the seer. Then you're blind and you're not fucking hearing anything. So to me, it's a warning. It's like coming into a spiritual shoe store. You came in. I wasn't barking for you to come in. You showed up today. So I lay out some shoes, just like it happened with me. You put your foot in. Hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. Let it freaking resonate. Let it vibrate. Let it percolate. Let it be entertained. Not thought about, entertained. And then see what happens. And maybe you'll stop looking for what can't be found. And instead of looking for what you are from what you're not, you'll see what you're not from what you are. Simple shift. Yeah. You'll see what you're not from what you are, instead of looking for what you are from what you're not. It's the same event in a way, it's just a different feeling. Yeah? And if it works, why not allow it to continue to work? Yeah? You're not really, your job is not to fucking stoke it with tons of logs. Yeah? Your job is to express the heat. Yeah? Your job is to express the light. You're not the maker of the light, nor the stoker of the light, nor the perpetual holder of the light. You're an expression of it, yeah? Just like you're an expression of the madness of the mental state. We can do both. People can be moved to do incredibly insane, fucking contracting experiences here, or they can be quite used for the exact opposite. You're basically an expression driven by what's going to take you over. If the mental state is taking you over, you've already gotten its fucking promises. They're fucking empty. It's a form of slavery. And the thing is, it defeats us because when we look for a solution to it, we look from it. See? We want to get freedom for it or as it. That was the dilemma. When it hit me this time, I was always sharing this thing in AA. I did these workshops, and there was a famous chapter in the text of AA, which is how it works, which is a very apt description. It just tells you how the whole program works. And it had this beautiful sentence that I never heard anyone speak about it this way in an AA meeting. Maybe they had, I hadn't heard about it. And it said, self manifested in various ways. It says, all right, be convinced, first of all, which is a present tense condition, yeah? You're being convinced, yeah? That self, to me, this sense of being the doer, the haver, attached to the idea of being the body, right? The thinker, the feeler, that sense. Not ego, not that. but the sense of having or losing an ego, that sense of ownership, that sense of doership, creatorship, that sense. All right. So being convinced that self manifested in in various ways, basically through us. It's not there's no self like hovering like the Death Star. It's us. Yeah, it's us. Yeah. Taken over by the mental states, really. Yeah. So manifesting in various ways is what has defeated us. It's a simple statement. You agree with it or not. You know, it says being convinced that self manifested in various ways what has defeated us. All right, if you are convinced of that, we'll look at its common manifestations in your life. Yeah, what are they? In AA, they say resentment, fears, and harming other people in the pursuit of what you want. And so we look at the sexual arena because there's a lot of meaning in there. All right, so if you follow the logic of the statement, it seems like resentments and fears are manifestations of self, not our manifestations, yeah? Because it separates, it says self and us. We would be deemed the us, and then there's this little foreign installment, yeah, that seems to have captured us and is using us to manifest through. And in so, it defeats us through its manifestations, yeah? How does it defeat us? Because in the identification as a self, we claim the manifestations as ours. So now I'm saddled with tons of resentments because I called them mine. Yeah, I have tons of fears that keep reoccurring because the dog whistle is mine. The sense of mineness is allowing that we're like the petri dish that's growing all this shit, and then we think it's all fucking happening from the outside, but we're spawning it. We're like the incubus for self to spawn its manifestations, basically. And all the while, its whole situation is covered up perfectly because as identified as self, we claim self's manifestations as ours. And then we join groups to get recovery from self, but we keep fucking claiming the self's manifestations as ours. And it just goes on and on. It's sort of like, you know, the devil can be in the church, so to speak, you know? So even in the solutions, the problem is fucking festering constantly. So if you see it, you're never going to unsee it, to tell you the truth. It may ruin all your fucking career ideas because you're not going to, hopefully you'll have an avenue to help people, but you will not be trying to help people in non-duality. No fucking way. Non-duality is a simple invitation. Hey, it's nothing, so you can't fucking bitch about it to me. There's no return policy. You've been served. See if it fits. If it fits, freaking let it, you know. And now you've gotten an understanding of what arises when this new possibility is introduced. The system itself is going to try to neuter it, that you're occupied by. Yeah? And of course, you know, I'm painting a picture, but let's just see it. You're occupied by something. When a solution to that something comes, it neuters the solution to fit into its little paradigm. Yeah? And again, it reasserts itself as being the one that's doing the practices to get out of itself. It's mind-boggling, really. And suddenly things are cast, it'll take lifetimes, tons of purification, because there's a fucking non-acceptance of the obvious fact that something's not working. So we just keep adding. So now Buddhism isn't enough. There's got to be extreme radical Buddhism while you're working out, you know. Fucking, I'm doing a talk in Canada where it's Ganja yoga, so they do a big puff and then the yoga. It's great. I think it's a great place. Really, I really dig the idea. But you know, there's all these add-ons and trying to get. One of these is gonna fucking have to work. let's synthesize this with this and this and this, and come on. Yet it seems like this one abstract thing has more influence than all these real concrete things you're fucking doing. I don't know, maybe it seems like it. I guess here, if we totaled up spiritual years, there would be a couple hundred years at least. Yeah. I mean, there's a who of every guru person. Somebody here has seen at least every one of them. Which is great. It's an incredible, but it's nice if you have money, really. But it's incredible if that's your predilection as an action figure. I mean, it's a nice way to go because the atmospheres are good and the moods are usually good. You know, probably a lot of good food, loose-fitting clothing. You know, it's pretty good. I mean, I'd go for it. I tried. I could never reach the inner circle because I didn't have enough money. I think that was a problem. Maybe not. I'm cynical now. But yeah. But see, the beauty thing is, there is a disclaimer in this whole message, which is the statement in the Course, which is, you know, you and I are the dreaming of the dream. We're going to dream ourselves out of the dream. And as we do, the dream will get happier. So there's no way in hell that isn't going to quote-unquote return to being that is. There's no way in hell. You can put it off in time, seemingly, but basically, you're not blowing it, yeah, so to speak. So we're going to use the dreaming, you know, all the shit that you think I've got to deny, or you know, I can't do any of this anymore because it's conflicting with. No, it isn't. You can. Mind precedes everything in the dreaming. If its intention is to dream itself out of the dreaming, it will. Yeah, it may take a little time, but it doesn't matter. Yeah. So and the thing is, let's say if you believe this is a happening. Let's say you believe something has to happen to you to wake up, okay? So let's say that's the case. So something happens to you to wake up. I bet you if you asked a lot of people who say that's happened to them, they probably would have to admit that in that event, there was a recognition that it's always been this way. Yeah? So in a sense, that would seem like it wasn't available and then suddenly became available. When it suddenly becomes available, and it informs the carrier that it's always been available at all times, right where you are. So basically, your whole story of getting there gets negated by arriving there. So maybe just cut out the story. There's this chapter in the Course, I need do nothing. And it talks about all the practices, if they're worthy or if they work, if the mind's using them to dream itself out, it's going to arrive at this simple realization, I need do nothing. Well, let's just start there. Yeah. See, if you stick with it, see what happens. Yeah. Any questions? If you have to think that much, fuck it.
No, I remember thinking, I gotta ask that, but there was at some point I saw.
You're on a time.
Do you sleep better? If you have freedom from your mind, in the sense we've been discussing, do you get a grasp on insomnia? Because insomnia is so much about the mind really running you ragged all night long.
See, I've never had an experience in insomnia, so I can't speak about it.
Sorry, it's kind of an ordinary question, but I always wondered.
They should come out with a non-dual sleeping pill. That'd be interesting. You forget yourself and you sleep like a baby for 8 hours.
That'll work.
But then again, sometimes the seed assignment has its, And again, mind dreaming out of here will use it. Yeah, even though it seems as the recipient of lack of sleep that how can this have any value? It'll be put to value. Yeah. You can't make sense of this place as an action figure. You can't. It's impossible. You've got, it's like Jesus says, you're in this world, but you're not on this world. The greatest clarity about the in this world is from the of. Yeah. When you see the quote unquote problem or dilemma from the solution, that's the only thing that works. To try to see the solution from the problem doesn't work. You see the problem from the solution, and then you'll see that this problem is an activity the solution's engaged in. Really. And then what can happen, at least for me, an acceptance comes into the field. Yeah, where maybe you'll accept everything else, but there's usually a lack of acceptance about what you're not. Yeah? And then even that gets permeated by the acceptance. So it's just you couldn't have arrived there by any thinking or efforting. It's just like an observation after things have happened, and then you chilled out. You lose interest in observing yourself all fucking day. You know. You do. It's almost like a paid vacation. People go, how are you feeling right now? I don't know. I have no idea. Yes, question?
So you have the intention to dream yourself out of the dreaming?
No. See, that's the dreamt usually. See, the dreamt here is about the dreaming, and then it goes, I'm going to intend to dream myself out of dreaming. I didn't say this earlier, but this message or these events, the point isn't aimed at you. It's thrown over your head, yeah? Because if we're talking to everywhere, it's here, yeah? So I've learned from having this seat assignment, it goes nowhere to talk to you about the Buddha. It goes really somewhere if you talk to the Buddha about you. So basically, we're talking to the dreaming about the dreamt. Of course, the dreamt thinks it's the one that's hearing about the dreaming. But we're talking to the dreaming about the dreamt, not to the dreamt about the dreaming. Yeah, because when you talk to the dreamt about the dreaming, it wants to flex its little fucking self-will muscles. All right, I'm speeding this process up. You know, that's the dreamt will just confuse itself even more. So a lot of messages in life that are meant to mind have been waylaid, yeah, by the mental state. It claims it and then neuters it. Yeah. So people hear they're the dreaming, and then all right, I'm going to dream babes and 50 cars and good joints and everything else, tons of money. That's not. No. The dreaming hears about it, and acceptance can come into that which cannot find acceptance here. Yeah, you may hit a level of tolerance, or you may call it acceptance, but it usually has a warranty on it. But acceptance doesn't come from here; it comes from the of. Yeah, because this place is truly unacceptable. If your view goes to other people, it's unbearable. It truly is. You cannot withstand. It would be way too much. So the acceptance is an effect of some things changing. It's not something you could cause, yeah? It's an effect. But you have sentience, and you'll pick it up after a while, yeah? This thing is a reporter, basically. Yeah, it's a reporter. It's an expression. It's an observation. But way past the point of when something occurred. Yeah? It's way down the road. Yes.
So you're talking about it's the same thing with Jesus. He's talking about the training. You said like ears to hear, right? You have ears to hear, then hear. Like this. Like, Jesus is not talking separate individuals. He's talking about
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's not the ears. The ears can hear and the eyes can see. It's what's seeing, what's hearing is going to dictate the value of the message. Yeah? The selfing, just see it. The trinity of the mental processes, let's say perceptions, being interpreted, thoughts, and memories. They're all based on you as a body, basically. The whole system, or as the Course would say, the brain interprets to the body of which it is a part. Yeah. So basically, the brain is attempting to collate all this information, but it sends it, and it's all based on this assumption that there's a thing. Yeah. So all the information, all the knowledge is always tainted in a sense by what's claiming the knowledge. Yeah, just like in AA, it's a very interesting statement in recovery. It says self-knowledge avails you nothing. But then if you switch it around, knowledge of self is very valuable because you'll forget self when you understand what it is because it ain't you. See? But then the same thing, knowledge claimed by self has no value. Because the self-claiming it will neuter what value the knowledge had or misdirect it, yeah? But when you start seeing that activity that's implied as self, claiming the knowledge, that's fucking valuable. And it's not a random little event. That's what it does all over. And all your belief that there's certain things that are untouchable are not untouchable to it. It will claim in 5,000 spiritual traditions, it will claim in 6 in market, it will claim wherever it's appearing. It is when something arises, it will arise after and say it's before. That's the act of claiming. How it gets a sense of it is it claims what comes before as after. So it can go, oh, that implies me. Doing implies a doer. Seeing implies a seer. Feeling implies a feeler. If there was the feeling, seeing, like when you were a baby, if that was in primary position, there would be no selfing. There would just be seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching, and maybe there'd be a narration that would come after, and you would know that which you are by being in it. And you would know what you're not by seeing it. Yeah? Does it mean the station will change? No, you would hear it and this and that, but I bet you there would be a lot more comedy coming out of it than fucking CNN news flashes. Seriously. So, all right, you want to shut it off? 3 questions is the allotment.